Anti-Afro Spengalis. I wanted to come on here because I wanted to share a few things. Something that I think has remained constant and persistent is the evil influence that Umar Johnson continues to have in these particular YouTube streets, in these particular YouTube blocks. I maintain the nefarious, the demon, the evil, and the wicked that you see, that you hear, that's Umar. This is what Umar Johnson embodies. Who's going to get up here and tell me Umar Johnson is a respectable and kind and decent person? He is not. So he has attracted a whole host of individuals to the space that are just like him. I mean, I can't barely stand to listen to him victimizing these parents. But what's more bizarre and vile and wicked is to see how Umar Johnson's whole demeanor, his whole spirit, his whole disposition towards people, his lack of caring, his jumping to conclusions, all of these things, all of these conspiracy theories and wild scenarios, these blind accusations, these phantoms, these trolls, these instigators, name it, people. This is Umar Johnson, A to Z. Umar Johnson's disposition still clouds these YouTube streets. And frankly, those people who claim that they support what we do over in this space, they start out gung ho, but then they find out what we have to offer is much, much too boring compared to what they see as far as what Umar Johnson esque behavior brings is much more exciting for them. So what do? They have to make sure everybody knows. They have something negative to say about me. There's something negative to say about Gerald. There's something negative to say about AFW. They have something negative to say about Liz or anybody they perceive that is non-hostile towards us. It's that black and white polarization. Either you love something or you hate it. That is a very unhealthy way to go about the world. There needs to be a middle ground. And you don't get a middle ground if you're impulsive in your actions and going around accusing people of doing things and making up scenarios. This is Umar all the way, right down to questioning the race of those, in particular me, who has something to say about Umar Johnson and the bullshit that he does. I mean, just recently, somebody got pissed off at me and decided to question whether I was black. That's what I'm talking about. The Umar Johnson spirit is here in these YouTube streets. We continue to battle it. We are formidable. What people say, their version of events, as far as who's involved with AFW, who's doing what, is one thing. The truth is something else. But there's one thing I'm certainly not going to do. I'm not going to get up here and explain to the world every single interaction, every single relationship I have with whoever, on and offline. I refuse to do that. People are free to give their opinions about whatever they want, but let's make it clear. There's a lot of incitement going on out there. There is a goal for people to make sure they are heard and they are seen. And the quickest way to do that, even though if you were one of these people who claimed this was such a horrible thing, but you're not doing it yourself, that is why it's important, people, to not be so anxious in your decisions, in your conclusions about anything. And if someone ends up being the exact opposite of what they tried so hard to convince you that they were, guess who that falls on? That falls on the person who tried to pull the wool over your eyes. I have made it very clear many times, no one is above being fooled. Being a fool is a totally different story. That's what you really need to keep in mind. How in the world can it be your fault if you open up your door to someone because they had no place to go and they slept over and they stole from you? Are you in trouble for doing that? No, you extended kindness to someone who took advantage of you. You extended support to somebody who knew they were going to stab you in the back. To me, it's very bizarre for people to try to criticize those who were kind and extended themselves to people. No, the issue is the people who decide they want to squander your good intentions. Wait a minute. Who have we heard this about? Who does this? Umar Johnson does this, people. This is what Umar Johnson's been doing for how long? Squandered the good intentions of the Black community. This is a model that Umar Johnson has set forth, and there are people out there who have taken it and ran for the hills with it. All they know is that they're getting people talking about them and looking at them and listening to what they have to say. That is satisfaction. It's way too boring to be consistent with your message and your intentions. Never mind that those on the outside looking in think you're doing one thing. They can't know what you're doing internally because you don't have any relationship or contact with them. How can they tell you what you're doing? Just because they come to a channel and see you're not talking about Umar as you were before, that doesn't tell the story. Coming to a channel and someone is talking about something, they're getting super chats, they're getting cash apps, whatever they're getting. And there's no crime against that because YouTube makes how much money off of this whole scenario? That is not the point. The point I'm making is that people will try to ingratiate themselves with you because they have ulterior motives. They have motives that are not sound, they're not positive. So when they think the time is right, they'll come out against you and start talking shit about you, telling all kinds of lies, making up stories. I mean, the stories get more and more bizarre. But guess what? I am not the type of person who has ever internalized somebody being a backstabber, being conniving, or being treacherous as being my problem. I'm not the conniver. I'm not the backstabber. I'm not up here talking shit about people. I'm sticking to a very specific issue that is near and dear to me. It did not include going off and talking shit about people just because I don't agree with them. The people you hear me talking about are the people who set out to cause harm to me, are threatening me, sexually harassing me, violating my rights, not the people I simply have a disagreement with. And you can go check that. Go check it. That includes UTCTV and your continuous push for Black people not to get the help they need when they are threatened, when their lives are threatened. You can do that for yourself. Umar adopts that policy, but you can't impose that on other people. So because TCTV feels that way, that has nothing to do with me. I'm calling that out, but what he says is not going to stop me from protecting myself if and when I need to. I am very specific and I'm very selective about who I respond to, and more importantly, when. And that response doesn't have a damn thing to do with fear. What the hell would I have to fear anything for? That doesn't make sense, people. That doesn't make any sense. If I want to respond, I will respond. If I don't want to respond, I won't. So for anybody to come up here and say, oh my God, anti-Afro, she's a friend. No, it never is going to be about fear. It's about strategy. And most important, what I want to do with my time. I like to spend most of my free time enjoying myself. And I absolutely do enjoy the exchange we have on this channel and off to those people who I have external relationships with. It mirrors my life off YouTube. I enjoy the time that I spend with people that I choose to be with. I have never been a person to be around someone and I'm miserable and I hate it and I'm like, God, I can't stand this. No, I book it. I will make a good faith effort to address the situation. If I don't get any sort of cooperation, I'm gone. I'm not going to hang around in misery. And unfortunately, we have people out here in these YouTube streets, is what their existence is. There was someone who sent me, this was really bizarre, people. Bizarre. Someone had sent me, it was like a partial list, it wasn't even complete, of all the people that a person here in these YouTube streets has gone ham on. When I say gone ham on, they just get on the YouTube and they start cursing the person out. It was like 30 people. Are you serious? There is no way in hell I'm going to get up here and curse out 30 people. Who I choose to address, whose names I choose to mention, is for a very specific reason. And by and large, those individuals are public servants. People can say what they want. This is a free country. One of Polite's last hearings, not too long ago, the judge told him this. Yes, you do have free speech rights, but there are limits. There are people around here who don't even have any idea about limits. And those are the kind of people I avoid. Someone without limits is extremely dangerous. Someone without boundaries is extremely dangerous. Or if those boundaries are fused, they just absolutely have no rhyme and reason. I don't want to have any interaction with people who have no limits. So let me be very clear. I absolutely do consider these categories as being one and the same. We have instigators, we have phantoms, we have trolls, we have blind accusers, we have incitement junkies. They're all one and the same. And you can characterize these descriptors, whether it's somebody talking on a live stream or if they're avatars. They're all together. And there are people here in these YouTube streets who live for this. I don't live for this, which is why I limit myself to the spaces where I go. And if you think about it, how many of you on this YouTube page venture out and go to other live streams? Very few of us. So people get to make their choices about where they want to spend their time and what content they want to listen to. And that is what I want to drive home. I want to drive this home. I find it absolutely bizarre. It's beyond comprehension for me. And actually, SETI agrees with me on this one. Number one, why the hell would somebody subscribe to a page of someone they could not stand? You're never going to be able to convince me there's logic to that. No way. I'm subscribing to a page where I have such a divergent view of very basic areas of life. I'm not subscribing. If someone has gone off on ham rant, screaming and hollering, cursing me out, threatened to kill me, threatened to rape me, sexually harass me, all these things, no, I'm not subscribing to your page. These instigators and these phantoms and these trolls and these blind accusers and these incitement junkies. And guess what they try to do? They try their damnedest to try to start a conversation with us. And I absolutely will not do that. When I'm referring to us, I'm talking about me, Rev G, and Liz primarily because we are pretty much the only people, a few others, but primarily we're the ones that venture out. And to have people come in with these avatars, and you can tell by the language, the patterns of how they're writing, how they're speaking in word form, it's clear to see who these people are. And a lot of times these people forget that when we were on good terms, they let their avatars be known, or they have engaged with other people who are aware who they are in terms of this avatar. But it doesn't make a lick of sense to me that anyone would get up on an international airwaves and just bash and trash and scream and holler and yell out and call all kinds of names to someone, then expect there to be some sort of friendly engagement. That's not how my brain works. I'm sorry. I do not get into that. There have been times when I've been in a chat. I've blocked. I think the most I've blocked at one time was 6 because these people kept trying to have these. Why in the heck am I going to have a conversation with you? That's senseless. But I blocked, I think it was 6 people. Like you can personally block. Then I started getting all these text messages and emails from those friendly with me saying, wait, look, this person's continuing to talk to you. They kept bombarding the chat with messages to me. And I understand what the process is. They're trying to disrupt the flow of the chat. They see that I'm there, Rev G's there, Liz is there, and guess what? We're enjoying the content, we're having a good time, but no, you are not going to have a good time. I'm going to do whatever I can to go wherever you are and try to disrupt the flow of whatever is going on. That's exactly what these people are doing. So it does help a lot when you block individuals. The rest is going to be up to the host, but I found peace. It definitely is a measure of peace when you just go somewhere and you want to just enjoy the content. That's considered for me relative peace. That doesn't mean everything I hear on the platform I agree with. That's not what peace is. Peace means you're able to be in a space where the host is not letting people jump you, attack you, call you a bitch, a slut, and a whore. And if someone tries that, I have the option to block out. But if they're going to get on the panel and start talking that shit, that's when I'm going to leave. Straight up. And it's interesting how people who seem to want to go about calling people all these names never have any tolerance when people respond. I mean, it's almost like the same thing with Walter. Remember, Walter Hampton said he first got to Atlanta and he was just enjoying himself in the club, just chilling out, bebopping to the music. And somebody came up to him and said, "Why are you so happy? What you so happy about?"
I learned something then, though, because you don't have to do nothing or say nothing. You can just stand in the club, hold a drink, and put a smile on your face, and the niggas will come up to what you smiling about, what you so happy about. You won't make me miserable, so I distance myself.
This is the attitude that some people actually have. Why should you enjoy life? Why should you be laughing? Why are they laughing over there? That's too much. What? It's too much to hear people laugh and tell jokes. When I say laugh and tell jokes, it doesn't have to be necessarily about a person, or maybe it is, but it's not people launching attacks on other people freeform. Like the person has never mentioned your name or never brought you up, and you're up there coming up with all of these homophobic rants and this abuse and these lies. Some people actually do consider that entertainment. And if they do, that's their business. I'm not joining in with that. Everybody has their own idea of what they see as enjoyment and fun. And no one else has a right to impose upon that unless you are threatening somebody. You're threatening someone's family. You are slandering someone to the point where it's actionable. That is not fun and games. And nobody can ever force me to accept it as a joke. That's my right. You know, I have so much more to say. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.